Hello, I'm Lisa Burkhart-Worley, and welcome to Pop Talk, the show where you never know what topics might pop up. A lot of us know we are good at some things, but not so good at others. My dad was a doctor, but I never excelled in science. Believe me, you would not want me operating on you. But why is it important to understand our strengths? Well, today's Pop Talk guest will explain. But first, say hello to our Pop Talk co-hosts, Michelle Burton and hello. Renee Rollins.
Hey, everybody.
Good to see you guys. Yes. What are you good at? Do you know your strengths, or are you trying to do something that may not be in your area of expertise? I think you're going to love today's interview with Colie Hanson. She's a Gallup certified strengths coach and has a degree in Christian counseling. She's worked with teens, college students, families, volunteers, and employees to help them figure out their strengths. So we're so happy to have Colie on the show. It's good to have you on Pop Talk. Welcome. And
glad to be here.
It's so funny how we found out about you because I was at an event serving and your husband was at the same event serving, and we began to talk about you. And he told us what you did, and I just thought that was so cool that's how we came to know about you. So why is it important, Colie, to know our strengths as well as our weaknesses?
I think that we all have specific avenues where we can get things done in a successful way. And one thing with Clifton Strengths is that they figured out that the things that set people apart in different fields is when they were using particular strengths that were theirs, that were natural to them. We don't really focus a whole lot on weaknesses. Clifton Strengths is based out of positive psychology, and with me, we haven't gotten into what the different ones are yet, but I'm a maximizer. I love to take things from good to great, and I'm high positivity. I like going with the glass half full, not half empty, and I'm not worried about what's wrong with you. I want to know what's right with you, and that's why I fell in love with Clifton Strengths.
But you do see some of those weaknesses because, of course, I go there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I knew that.
That allows us to avoid pitfalls. And then it also allows us, when we look at the bottom of our list, of the 34 lists that Clifton Strengths does or gives us, it allows us to ask really good questions in our more natural giftings, our natural strengths. And so, but then it also helps us to understand our partnerships and value them more, utilize them more.
So yeah, that leads me to a question. I was wondering if a lot of people come to you like they're in a job that's maybe it's not satisfying, or maybe they're doing something they simply weren't, designed to do. What's usually going on with people? What do you feel like is going on when people are seeking your help?
Well, I think that there are times that they may be qualified on paper for a job, and if they're not satisfied, then we ask the question, well, what kind of environment are you having to do this in? Because it's not just about qualification, it's about how you have to do it. And so I actually quit a job one time using strengths and saying, okay, I am very qualified. You like that I do this job the way that I do it,
right.
But it's draining me, the way that I'm having to perform. And so I knew I was supposed to quit, and I told them, if you want someone like me, this is the environment that they would thrive in. So maybe considering to make some shifts this way. Or if this is the environment that somebody needs to get it done, this may be the strengths that you're looking for in an individual to take this to thrive, not only for you, but for them.
Yeah, I once told an employer that I was too cold. And I kept telling them, and then finally I said, I'm freezing and I can no longer do this. I am cold. move me to that office. And he said, okay, I will. So, yeah, it was a temperature thing for me.
Well, I'm familiar with the Clifton Strengths test, but for those who are not, how does it work?
I mean, it's giving a little bit of background kind of helps in knowing why it's different from maybe other assessments that you could take.
Right.
It's not a study of a personality. It's more of a study of or research of people that have been successful. And so they have, during that time of studying successful people, they recognize different patterns. And those patterns, they then, they call them talents. These talents are, they define it as naturally recurring thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. The things that you do as naturally as breathing. And so, in a lot of times, like with breathing, we don't recognize it. Right. And so we don't know how to invest in it. We kind of take advantage of it. But when a swimmer or a deep diver or a runner invest in their breathing, they can run faster, swim deeper, or dive deeper and swim faster. I don't know how I said that. Anyway, right. Sorry. Yeah. But that's what we want to do. And so them finding these patterns, they then group them into themes, 34 themes, which is what you see on the report. And those themes, once or those talents, once they are identified with one individual, then we, after taking an assessment, that's the key. Like, we have to take the assessment, and then you look at it, and you look at those themes, and you identify how they show up in your life, where those talents are within those themes, how they show up in your life, and then that almost makes them tangible. That way we can invest in them. And you know, the parable of the talents, like, you can go and dig a hole and put them in there and just kind of tuck it away. You can just breathe, or you can invest in it, and you can multiply it, and it can become a strength. So we start with talents and we end with strengths.
Wow. And these are really God-given talents.
Yeah.
I mean, we take this Strength Finders, but really God designed us this way. And I like to know myself better, so I took the Clifton Strength Finder. I took it twice because Michelle and I were in a class that required it, so we had to take it again. So I'm going to share my Clifton Strengths with everybody. And I'm a little confused about one of them, and let me tell you what they are. Activator, number 1. Strategic, number 2. Learner, number 3. It's probably why I'm in school working on a doctorate of ministry. Right. Input, number 4. And futuristic, number 5. That flipped on the second time. It was 1, it became 5. So if you heard that combination of strengths, what does that say about me? And let me just say, I can take it. Whatever it is, you go ahead. Just say whatever it is. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt.
Well, with Activator, they have broken these 34 themes into groupings: executing how you get something done, influencing how you influence others, strategic thinking, how you think things through, and relationship building, how you build relationships with people. And so your Activator is number 1. You like to get started, but knowing that it's actually in the influencing domain is that you like us to get moving. And then you've got your strategic. It's the one that is able to find the best route to where we're going. You can see all the different routes. You can see all the different routes, but you know how to get us to you find the best route to get us from A to B. And then input. Input is...
That's confusing, input.
Okay. It's they call it the collector theme or the librarian theme. And depending on what's around it, it kind of changes how you collect things. I've had people that collect information about people and they're high woo, and so they like to collect this information about them so that they can win them to other people. Other people that, someone that works in media that I worked with one time, the way that he gets started with any project is that he goes and collects, research all the different things that are required to do this project. With you, your high learner, it doesn't have anything to do with intellect. It has to do with the love, the love of learning. And so I'm going to guess you could probably collect information, but even with
books.
Understanding...
More books. Too many books.
Even understanding what you do here, I'm going to guess that you probably collect stories and collect how people influence the body of Christ and influence the world. And you want to get things moving, get us moving, get the body of Christ moving by activating that. And then you're futuristic, you can see. You do everything today with tomorrow in mind.
That's it. That's really is my personality. I have to fight to stay present. And I do that in my quiet time, too.
I'm the same way.
And so I was like, Lord, help me to stay present, because I'm always thinking about the day, you know, what's coming up and what I have to do. And so I'm like, Lord, help me stay present in your word, in your presence. I don't want to think about that right now. So I need help to do that.
Well, and there's probably partners that you have around you that are going to be encouraging in that way.
I don't think that way. So see, that's why I need to partner with you. I don't really worry about the next day. I take the day as it comes.
You're probably high adaptability.
So when you identify your strengths and you help somebody do that, how does that help them find the direction? I mean, do you see that kind of changes a course for people in their life, that God uses that?
It can.
Yeah.
It can. I mean, it helps us to know what partners are going to be right for us, what partners or what kind of people that we could be able to invest in. But it also helps us to understand not just the why we do something or what we do, but how we do it. So it helps us with that environment. So when we can find out that why, we can find out that what, then we can partner with those into the how. And that may look different. Your avenue of doing those things may be different based off of the revelations that you have and the strengths that you have.
You hear that, folks?
Yes.
Revelation. That was deep, what you just said. Yeah, I'm going to go back and play that again. But it's good. You're really explaining a lot that I think we take for granted, and what a gift God's given you.
Yeah.
Or we don't see our gifts, I think, a lot of times. We don't see them.
And a lot of times it makes it where we partner. We were talking about this earlier. We partner with people that are very opposite of us, and that's because we need those partners that are high in what we're low in and all of that. But sometimes we feel different, and we feel like maybe there's something wrong with us because we're not like the people around us. But the key is to understand that they need us, and they need us to be who we're meant to be and how we thrive.
Can I throw a question in here? Because I've had this happen to me. Sometimes because of the way we are and somebody doesn't understand, they don't really have a concept of why you're the way you are, it can cause conflict.
For sure.
Right? Because you're not like them. Is that what happens?
Well, and that's what having sessions with people that are in partnership and marriage, and I have parents come to me and they're like, I don't know what to do with my kid, my teenager. I don't know how to help partner with them. And so one of the easiest ways to start doing that, because this gives language, I've watched this transform my marriage, because it gives us a language to not only invest in the other person, but to communicate what we need, and then to value that partnership and to flow with each other versus just constantly bumping into each other.
Not only that, too, for your children. I mean, you take it one step further. For parents who maybe have a difficult time, if, like, for example, I'm an extrovert, but my daughter's an introvert, but I didn't know that until like she was 17 years of age. So you would think that it would be a really incredible tool to use to understand your children too, so that you can be able to talk to them and kind of understand each other as well. So I know perhaps a person who takes the strengths test has some goals in mind for the future, and may not know how to get there. So how is knowing your strengths helpful in reaching or achieving your goals?
I mean, just everything that we've already been talking about. It helps us to know the avenues of how we can get there most successfully. We don't want to just, when we get frustrated, when we get stuck, when we start to feel hopeless, we start asking, are we trying to get things done from things that are sitting at the avenues that are sitting at the bottom of our list? And maybe we have conversations of how would that change if we're using these other avenues to get things done and to reach our goals. Because most of the time, goals are not the issue. Like, we've got all the goals, all the New Year's resolutions, but it's because what they found is that with this research, everybody is so unique. To find somebody with your top 5 order is 1 in 33 million people.
Wow.
That's not your
I
whole
didn't know
34
that.
list. That is 1 in 33 million people for your top 5 order. That means in the United States, including you, that's about 10 people with your top 5 order. So to go like cookie cutter with marriages, with employees, with different partnerships, friendships with your kids. I even do this in homeschooling. I say, okay, how do I best teach? What's the best avenue for me to teach my kids? But also I strength spot with them because they're too young to take it. But I start watching them and I'm looking for different things because I want them to thrive in their school. So this has been instrumental in even the public schools that it's been able to get into and sports teams.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on what Michelle said about children, because I think it really could help
Right.
bond you with your children. Because I had an introverted son. My older son is introverted, and I didn't get it because I am slightly extroverted. I'm not as extreme as she is, but I'm an extrovert. And so I was saying to my son, why don't you get involved in this club or do that at college? And why don't you do this? I was like naming off all these things that I would do if I were there.
Yeah.
And he goes, Mom, what is it about introverted that you do not understand? And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's right. I'm trying to put him into my box.
Yeah.
You know, this is how I would do it, but it's not necessarily how he would do it. So it brings me to this, you know, when we do our strength finders, Colie, sometimes I think a strength pops up that we never knew we had. Maybe when you probably have experienced that with people, and perhaps they hadn't been pressing into that strength. Is this something that can occur on a regular basis?
For sure. I mean, again, it's as natural as breathing. And so they either want it to be more complicated than it actually is, or because they've been around other partners, they think, oh no, that was my weaknesses. So it goes, or they just don't like it because they don't understand it, or they're low in empathy and they don't understand why they're low. I'm a compassionate person. Well, empathy, that's not the definition for this empathy. And so giving them, I had a friend that's high in connectedness. She can see all the lines that connect us together, all the things. And she's like, I just don't understand it. I don't like connectedness. I'm like, okay.
I would love to be a connectedness person.
And so, but my husband is high connectedness, and he connected us together.
Exactly.
And that made us better. That made the situation happen. That gave a situation for me to be able to talk about strengths more for people. And it makes us better. She's a part of the homeschool group that I'm a part of, and all the people that are a part of this group are from different areas and times and seasons of her life. And I tell her, I'm like, look around. All of these people are here today, and you are impacting them. They no longer, moms feel like they're on an island homeschooling their kids.
Yes.
And now, because of you, because of your connectedness, these people are not on islands anymore. They're living life with people, and you've connected these kids together. And so you're giving them experiences that they didn't get to have.
You want to know how I connect with people? It just came to me. God has to place them right in front of me and say, connect with them. And that's what he did with your husband.
Yep.
Connect with them. And so that's how I connect. I don't see the lines.
You ran into the bathroom. We were literally at church, and we were like, bam, we hit each other like twice. So, yeah, people do have to go right in front of you.
Yes, they
don't
do.
Right next to you. I sat right next to you.
Yes.
Because
Like,
you're
maybe
living
I'm
in
supposed to connect
tomorrow.
with them.
You're already in tomorrow and next
Yes,
week and all the
exactly.
things. And God smacks you with people, and then they take off and they run with you because you're moving.
Yes, I'm moving. Get on the train.
That's
Get
right.
on the
It's moving
train.
fast.
Yeah, don't miss your chance.
So you have a Christian counseling degree. When I was thinking about that, my question to you was, how does your background, in your faith, help guide people into their strengths?
Well, I mean, I don't get to talk about the Lord all the time in my sessions, but either way, the prayer is always the same. Like, help me to see them, look at their list and see how you see them. Because if I can see how you see them, then I can draw that out. And the word says the heart of the man is like deep water, and the man of understanding draws it out. Like, that is my role, that is my job as a coach, is to draw out the deep waters in people, the gold in people, and this gives me language to do it. And it's so unique to them. And so, yeah.
I love
And
that.
this is his. It's all his.
Yes, and prayer has to be
Yes.
so important and the forefront of it, because there are people who have deep wounds.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just not able to put one foot in front of the other. And so, when they feel like they even have, I'm sure, times that they feel worthless or don't feel like they have any gifts.
Yeah.
And so I think we all go through troubles like that sometimes, and we can dwell in a bad place from time to time. How can finding your strengths encourage you or encourage others?
This is an area that I didn't expect to be able to bring coaching into, but it has become one of my absolute favorites. People that have gone through hard times in life, or people that have gone through trauma, tend to be shells of the people that they once were. And so using this is a very gentle way of pointing out the good in them and helping them find direction to start again and to get moving again, to get unstuck. I'm high activator. I like to get people moving, to get unstuck. And this is a really gentle way, again, with kids and different people. But one thing that I've really enjoyed is being in people's lives and knowing their strengths and them coming to me when at the beginning of the traumatic event or the hard time, and us using it to help them navigate it so that they're not depleted at the end of it, but they actually know themselves more at the end of it. And so whether they're rediscovering who they are or they're going to thrive by the end of it, it's an easy way to use it.
We've got a little bit of time, so I'm going to ask you a question about your strengths. I want to know your top 5.
Okay.
And then I want to know, and take your time, why did you decide to do this for a living? What drew you to this kind of training and teaching and that kind of thing?
I wanted to be a nurse, but then the Lord told me that I was going to be a nurse for the human soul. I have my degree in Christian counseling. I've done a lot of leadership training, a lot of mentorship. I was youth pastor with my husband, and so I love people. I love people so much. But when it comes to Clifton Strengths, it kind of goes back to another question that you guys asked. I took it really early on in my marriage, and I thought that they got me wrong. And I was like,
That's funny.
You got me wrong. Good try. Let me study what these are, and I'll tell you what I actually am. And about 7 years later, I was at a church leadership meeting, a church women's leadership, and they were like, oh, we want you guys to take it again. So they gave us codes, everything. And when I typed my email address in, they were like, oh, you've already got results. What are they? Would you like to see them? I was like, sure, let me see how you got me wrong. Remind me how you got me wrong. And I looked at all of them. I was like, oh, you knew me better than I knew myself. And so I spent a couple of years with the different women that we went through this at the same time and got results, and I just started asking them different questions, and I'm like, this is legitimate. And by having these conversations, they're not only thriving more as an individual, but they're also thriving more in their partnerships. And so then that led me to get certified.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about, because you get your top 5, can you go more into depth about all the other ones? Because there's still like a top 10, you can have a top 20. Can you talk about how those are, should we pay attention to those at all as well?
You can, whenever you take the assessment, you have your results. Now, you could pay less and only see your top 5, or you can reveal the rest of your list and see all 34. We were talking earlier about how with a coach, they help you to divide the list into your dominant, supporting, and lesser themes. So your dominant themes are your always you themes, your supporting themes are your sometimes themes, and your lesser themes are rarely, if ever, you. So being able to know what's at the bottom of your list allows you, again, to be able to value your partnerships, know what kind of partnerships would work well with you, but also ask, I'm low in adaptability. That doesn't mean that I don't adapt. My husband is high in adaptability. he thrives in adapting and moving and dodging different things that come at his day. He loves it. One time I found like I was sitting in my kitchen floor crying because nothing had gone right. And he came and just sat in front of me. And he was like, look, I'll protect you from the kids. Take 5 minutes and restructure our day. The day isn't lost. And so I learned in that moment, one, how to value the partnership that I have with my husband, but also the way that I adapt is by restructuring.
So can you tell us we have time for one story of somebody that perhaps that you coached, you don't have to give a name, but just how it turned their life around, knowing their strengths.
I have a family that I've coached all 4 of the kids from, started with the youngest at, I think she was 14, and then the oldest when we started, he was 22, and I'll tell you about the oldest one. He had gotten bit by a tick, I think at around 14 years old, and got Lyme's disease. Wow. And sometimes with Lyme's disease, you get catch scratch fever, that bacteria, and he ended up having to drop out of school. Wow. And he came, his mom set up an appointment with me. We were talking, and I just asked him, I was like, what do you want? What do you, I hear what your mom wants, but what do you want? And he said, I want to get a job, and I want to get my GED. I was like, okay. So we started September, October. I was like, okay, when do you want your GED? He was like, I want it by April. I'm like, okay. So we used his avenues, his top list, and he just started going after stuff. He had his GED by the end of the year, 4 months early.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Hey, you're helping people.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I love that this can be another avenue for, with your degree as well, to be able to use to help kids and help parents better understand each other, and as another form of, healing. So thank you, Colie, for sharing your wisdom.
Thanks for having me.
And strengths, about how important it is to know about them. And if you want to find out more about your strengths, you can contact Colie at her email, Colie Hanson at increaseyouриmpact.net, and her website is increaseyouриmpact.net.
Yeah, thanks, Colie. It's so nice to understand Strength Finders a little bit better. I hope it helped our audience. And also, I just keep thinking about God's intricate design and how He intricately weaves us together. 1 in 33 million with the same top 5. That is amazing. So we would love for you to reach out to us here at Pearls of Promise Ministries as well. You can email us at info@pearlsofpromiseministries.com. Our website is pearlsofpromiseministries.com. Like us on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter at Pop Talk Media. We're also on Instagram at Pop_Ministries. You can see all of our past Pop Talk television shows on our YouTube channel. So why don't you subscribe? Then you can see everything that we're doing. So we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, for sure. And thank you to our 20 television and radio platforms. We consider each of our networks a great blessing from God. And we are also grateful for our production team, Grace Point Media. For all your media needs, go to Grace Point Media.
And we also want to thank the sponsor of today's program, Prestige Development Properties, LLC. If you have a project that needs a commercial developer, Prestige Development Properties is a place to go. You can email Prestige at Carrie@prestigedev.net.
And that is Pop Talk for today. We're just ordinary girls
who God turned into pearls.
Have a great week.